Okay,
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. Today, the first talk is by me on approach to falls in elderly, and second talk is on mild cognitive impairment by Dr. Arun Chelvan, senior consultant neurologist from Apollo Hospitals. These two are very important issues we see in our day-to-day practice. And approach to falls in elderly is a very important problem in elder population, and it has a lot of issues and the reasons behind it which need a lot of attention and to prevent this fall, because majority of hospital admissions are occupied by this fall in the elderly population due to so many reasons. So we'll discuss about that in the lecture today. Falls in older persons happen commonly and are major factors threatening the independence of older individuals. Falls usually occur when impairments in multiple domains compromise the compensatory ability of the individual. Falls often go without clinical attention for a variety of reasons. The patient never mentions the event to a healthcare provider unless we ask. No, they will not be telling this. Yes, I fell down 2 months back or 1 month back. Especially in the neurology, we see subdural hematoma. The trivial falls they don't even tell actually unless we ask them. So the patient never mentions the event to a healthcare provider. There is no injury at the time of the fall. The provider fails to ask the patient about the history of fall. If there is an injury, then definitely we'll ask what happened to you, what is the reason for this injury. But in a trivial fall, the patient may not get any injury, and the patient fails to mention that, and the provider also don't ask routinely in the elderly population coming to the outpatient, did he had any fall in the past? Provider or patient believes that falls are an inevitable part of the aging process. We always think that when somebody is aging, that means falls happens, and it is we should not take it granted. And it's very important to prevent the fall. So both the provider, healthcare provider, or the service provider to the patient, and the patient believes that the falls are an inevitable part of the aging process, but we have to prevent it. It is not mandated that everybody should fall, and if we take a lot of effort, we can prevent majority of these falls. Often treatment of injuries resulting from a fall does not include investigation of the cause of the fall. When somebody comes and tells us, okay, I had a fall 1 month back or 2 months back. Okay, you had a fall. Okay, then we try to find out anything happened because of the fall. But it's very important to find out why the patient fell down, and as the patient is going to fall down in the future also. It's very important that we have to find the cause for the fall. Significant morbidity and mortality may result from falls in older individuals. Falls are leading cause of injury, both fatal and non-fatal. A study found that 80% of older women preferred death to a bad hip fracture that would result in nursing home admission. If you ask very elderly population, the old adult population, somebody 75, 80 or more than that, and people prefer death rather than getting a bad hip fracture and lie down in the bed and totally dependent on care of day-to-day life. Clinicians caring for older patients need to routinely inquire about fall, assess for fall risk, and address modifiable underlying risk factors. Incidence of fall increases with age and varies according to living status. In 2018, there is a behavioral risk factor surveillance system. They found that 27.5% of adults aged 65 years and above reported at least one fall in the past year. It's very common. So we have to find out or we have to ask the population coming to the outpatient service whether they had a fall in the past. And out of that, 10.2% reported fall-related injury. So out of the 27.5 who had a fall, 10.2% had a fall-related injury. The percent of fall increases to about 34% in those 85 years and older, and more common in women. So the more older they become, like 34, 85 years and above, the chance of getting fall is about 34%, and it's more common in women compared to men. Approximately 50% of individuals in the long-term care setting falls yearly. So there are people in the nursing home, hospice care. There's so many reasons people are in the nursing home setup. And out of that, 50% individuals in the long-term care setting falls yearly. It's very common in those kind of settings. Nearly 60% of those with a history of fall in the previous year will have a subsequent fall. Somebody had a fall in the last year, they will have fall in the coming year. The chance is around 60%. So it's very important to find out what is the cause for the fall. So we have to take actions to prevent the fall in the coming future. In one study, women over age 70 followed for 2 years. 41% fall result in minor injury and 6% in major injuries. Earlier studies found that 5 to 10% of falls among community dwelling older adults result in major injuries. fracture, head trauma, or major lacerations. In nursing home residents, fall-related major injuries are higher, like 10 to 30%. Falls accounted for 62% of non-fatal injuries, leading to US emergency department visits for people over 65 years. So if you ask the emergency consultant or the hospitals, the emergency department, we know that how often they see the patients coming to the emergency for the reason of fall. They had a fall, they have some fall related issue, they come to the emergency. That's one of the common reason for visiting the emergency. In US emergency department is around 62% of non-fatal injuries happen because of the fall. Approximately 5% of falls in older persons will lead to hospitalization. Out of the 5% of the people need hospitalizations. In Netherlands, the number of hospitalizations for falls more than doubled between 1981 to 2018. So the number of people falling down has increased over a period of almost 20 years period, actually almost 30 years period. So it is very important because I think people started living longer, and so the incidence of fall is also doubling over a period of time. Nearly 95% of fractures are caused by falls. So very important. So we see a lot of fractures in the thing. The fall can be due to the age-related issue, as we have been discussing now, or there people fall due to so many reasons, like accidents or fall down. Young people also fall due to so many other accident-related issues. Among community living older adults who sustain hip fractures, 25% to 75% do not recover pre-injury functional status. So quite large proportion of these people who had a hip fracture, they never go back to the pre-injury functional status. Only one half of older individuals who fall are able to get up without help, resulting in the so-called long lie. So some of the patients who fall down, they become a long lying patient in the bed for quite some time before they start walking or trying to resume the older activities. Fallers who are unable to get up are more likely to suffer lasting decline in activities of daily living. Those who are able to get up, that is somebody who get up immediately after the fall, they go back to the normal daily activities compared to the people who suffer to get up or lie down on the floor for a long time before getting up. So that is around 35% versus 26%. Complications resulting from falls are the leading cause of death from injury in adults older than 65. It is the fifth leading cause of death in older adults. 2.2% of injurious falls resulted in death in older adults. So it's very important. So it produces morbidity, it produces mortality, common reason for coming to emergency of any hospitals in the world. So there's an entity called fear of falling, or called post-fall anxiety syndrome. Somebody fell down, had issue, fatal injury or non-fatal injury or trivial injury, non-trivial injury, or they fall and even they recover totally. They go into a syndrome called post-fall anxiety syndrome. They have fear of falling. Fear of falling associated with living alone, cognitive impairment, depression, balance and mobility impairments, as well as the history of falls. So it's very, very important. If you see patients who are living alone, they have some cognitive issues, they have depression, they have balance issues, they always suffer from fear of falling. Very important to ask the patient, are you okay? Do you fear that you are going to fall again? We have to ask the patient all these questions, because not only preventing the fall is important, we have to give some psychological assurance, and so that the patient can live with better confidence compared to living in the fear of falling. Multiple community-based prospective cohort studies of risk factors for falls, and they are past history of fall. So lower extremity weakness. Somebody has lower extremity weakness, they are prone for fall. Age, as I told, that 65 plus above, 85 plus above. So older adults, and so they are classified into 65 and 85, as I told initially. So age also a factor. Female sex, women are more prone for fall and compared to men. Cognitive impairment, balance problems. Psychotropic drug use. If they are on medication, very, very important to go through the drug list of the patient. One of the common reasons for fall in the elderly population. Arthritis, history of stroke, old stroke patients, prone for fall. Orthostatic hypotension, which I discussed in the last SINA meeting, one of the reasons for fall. Dizziness, anemia. Factors associated with increased risk for falls with a major injury. Certain factors, if you see in the patient with the history of fall, if they are going to fall in the future, certain fall again in these patients can produce major injuries. That is falls associated with syncope. So when patient has vasovagal syncope, it is very important to prevent it vasovagal syncope. If the patient fall again, the syncope can produce a fatal fall. History of previous fall with injury. Decreased executive function. These three things can produce a fall with major injuries. Causes of hypotension in older individuals. Age-related decline in baroreflex sensitivity to hypotensive stimuli manifested by a failure to increase the heart rate when blood pressure falls. So the compensating mechanism is not that good in elderly population compared to younger population. So the baroreflex or baroreceptor is not that sensitive in elder population, which makes them to fall. Postural change related to eating a meal. Some people can get hypotension after a meal and they may fall after eating a meal. Age-related reduction in the total body water. So it's very important. Sometimes they don't know that they are dehydrated, and there is the age-related reduction in the total body water. So it's very important to educate the people, elderly population, to have adequate hydration. They have to consciously hydrate themselves to prevent this issue of age-related reduction in the total body water. This can be one of the cause for the fall. Several age-related chronic conditions are associated with an increased fall risk, like Parkinson's disease, chronic musculoskeletal pain, osteoarthritis of the knee, common in diabetes. The diabetic population, elder population fall more often compared to the non-diabetic population. Risk of fall increases in patients with cerebrovascular or cardiovascular disease. Risk of fall increases with increasing number of chronic diseases. So these are all important things we have to keep in mind. Somebody's had a fall and are they going to fall again? We have to find out whether they have all these reasons so that we have to treat appropriately to prevent the another fall to happen to the patients. In one study of 1,600 persons aged 75 years and above, the risk of hip fracture over 6-year follow-up was twice as high when the score on the mini mental status examination was suggestive of mild impairment, that is score 18 to 23 in mini mental status examination, compared with those with no impairment. So as I was telling initially, there is executive function impairment in the cognitive assessment, or if there is a reduction in the mini mental score, and this study of patients over 75 years, the risk of fall and the patients getting a fatal fall, getting hip fracture is very high compared to the other patients who have a normal cognitive factor. But we have to keep in mind that every patient can have other reasons for fall, but this alone, the cognitive issue alone, can be one of the independent risk factors. The volume of white matter lesions in the cerebral cortex was directly associated with the risk for fall. So if you see a small vessel disease of the brain, a lot of small strokes in the brain, in the deep subcortical region, if there's a lot of white matter lesion like Binswanger or patient, a lot of subcortical infarcts, these people have a more chance of falling. The footwear, no, we always think the footwear, sometimes in a younger age, we always go for a beautiful footwear or something which is fashionable, or something looks nice actually. But the footwear has a lot of other, its main purpose is to carry on ourselves, and we should be able to walk comfortably with it. We should not trip over the footwear. So the shoes with thin hard soles were associated with the best balance. So people have thin hard sole, thin hard soles, and they have a better balance compared to people with high heels shoes actually. And they should be more broader, is have more contact with the ground compared to the narrow shoes. So the shoes should be broader, should have thin hard soles, the balance better with the shoes. So it's very, very important to choose a footwear in elder population, which is one of the reasons for fall. Data from the Mobilize Boston study confirmed the protective effects of athletic shoes on falls and the increased risk associated with them going barefoot. If they are barefoot and the shoes are not the quality high heel shoes, narrow shoes, they have more chance of falling down. Low-heeled shoes are advisable. As I was telling, low-heeled shoes, thin soles, and their hard soles, broad footwear is better for the patient compared to the other opposite factor, which is produce a more risk factor for the fall. Falls in the hospital and nursing home settings occur more frequently and are associated with greater morbidity than falls that occur in the community. So we always think that hospital is a safer place. It's not like that. People living in the hospice, people living in the long-term care home, they fall more than people falling in the home settings. In a cross-sectional study of nursing homes in the United States, 21% of newly admitted residents who stayed in the nursing home at least 30 days and at least one fall within 30 days of post-admission assessment. So it's very important to prevent fall in the hospital itself, because you would have seen people, you go to the rounds ward and they say the nurse will tell the patient to fall in the morning. So we always think that the hospital means the patient doesn't fall there, but the contrary, the chance is more in the hospital nursing home setup compared to the home settings. So then what is fall risk assessment? There is a guidelines issued by American Geriatric Society, British Geriatric Society, American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons panel on falls prevention. All older patients should be asked at least once a year about falls, frequency of falling, difficulties in gait or balance. Very, very important. It should be a routine question in the clinical practice, we have to ask the patient, otherwise they may not reveal to the clinician. Multifactorial fall risk assessment should be performed for community dwelling older persons who report recurrent falls. Somebody have recurrent falls. We have to go for multifactorial fall risk. It cannot be a single factor, can be multiple factors. Report difficulties with gait or balance. Seek medical attention or present to the emergency department because of a fall. All these people, recurrent fall, coming to the emergency, people have walking difficulty, gait difficulty, lower limb weakness, and cognitive issues. We have to ask for history of fall. We have to ask for the multifactorial factor. We have to find out for the multifactorial factor, and we have to prevent the future fall. Performing one or more tests of postural stability can be useful, like performance-oriented mobility assessment, get up and go test, functional reach test, short physical performance battery characterizes lower extremity function. So these are all small tests you can see from the Google, or it is there in the most of the educational websites. There all these tests to assess the stability, postural stability of the patients. Physical examination. Look for postural vital signs, visual acuity assessment, hearing assessment. You don't need to go for a very thorough test. Whisper test or handheld audiometer. Examination of the extremities. You have to look at the feet for bunions, calluses, arthritic deformities, and sensory neuropathies. It's very important. I think it's better to form a separate case sheet for how to prevent a fall, the factors to look for in the fall, multifactorial risk assessment, what are the tests to be done, battery of tests to be done, and physical examination. These things has to be assessed in all these patients. Targeted neurological examination. Because in a busy clinic, we are neurology, we do that, but non-neurological practice like orthopedics or geriatric practice, it is very difficult for them to do a thorough neurological examination. What is a targeted neurological examination? Evaluation of lower extremity strength, gait, postural stability. In one systemic review of 16 studies found that lower extremity weakness had a higher correlation with fall risk than a history of prior falls. Leg weakness increased the risk of falling by more than 4-fold and history of fall by 3-fold. Fall prevention recommendations. What are the fall prevention recommendations? Multidisciplinary risk factor screening and intervention program, home hazard assessment, exercise program combining several categories of exercise for muscle strengthening and balance. In Western setup, they send the social worker, they send the specialist people, the specialist nurses, to the home and assess the home, and they make the environment more safer for the patients. And all these things, I think we can do it, but on an individual basis. But I think it should happen on a as a program. It's very important because by preventing that, we can save a lot of money, because most of the emergency, quite a lot of emergency cases are coming to the emergency because of these reasons. Medication should be reviewed for all the patients. We have to go through the medications. Older patients should be asked about dietary sources of vitamin D, sun exposure, and the amount of vitamin D from multivitamins and supplements. Suggested use of hip protectors in older adult patients who are at very high risk of falls and who are willing to comply with their use. You kindly go through the Google, you can see the pictures of hip protectors, because many other people may have older people in the home. These are quite useful. If you feel there is a high risk of fall, you're going to crack the hip. These protectors are not very expensive. You can buy through online, and you can put for these peoples, and if they fall also, they don't crack the hip to a significant amount. That is, I think it is a news to me when I prepared for this slide, that these hip protectors are very, I think it's really useful for people with high risk of fall, and they can crack the hip, which can ultimately make them to lie on the bed for a long time, or they may not get up at all for a long time. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll be willing to answer your questions at the end of the second talk. I hope Dr. Natarajan sir would have joined, and can all of you see me?
Yeah.
Professor Natarajan sir. Sir, Professor Natarajan sir, very nice to see you, sir. Sir, could you on your mic, sir? Could someone on Professor Natarajan sir mic?
Your screen is not off.
Is it audible now?
Yes,
yes,
sir.
sir.
Audible, sir.
Is it audible?
Very nice. Audible, sir.
Okay.
Very nice to see you, sir.
For the slight delay, take part in
No,
the
that's fine,
CMA
sir.
program. Yeah.
So I
Parani,
want to.
You can turn off your
Yes,
computer. You can turn off your computer so that.
Yes, sir.
Can...
That, right, sir.
It is still stuck.
That's fine. That's fine.
I will cancel it, sir. Now, can you see me, sir? Now?
Oh,
Yes.
Yes. So I want to officially introduce Professor V.S. Natarajan sir. He is teacher to many of us, and I remember when I was a medical college student, I was a house surgeon at the time. Professor K.T. Krishnan was the physician in Ward 6 actually. Professor V.S. Natarajan entered the ward one day and asked Professor K.T. Krishnan, I want one house surgeon for taking care of my ward for a week. And then Professor Dr. K.T. Krishnan sir told that take Dr. Paidi with you for a week. That's the first time I met Professor Natarajan sir. That was 1987 to 88 period actually. And he came after 1 week and told Dr. K.T. Krishnan, he's a very hardworking boy. I'm very happy with him. That's the first encouragement I got in my life from you, sir. And that's my first experience with you. I want to introduce officially Professor Natarajan, sir. Professor Natarajan, V.S. Natarajan, Valalarpuram Sennimalai Natarajan is a renowned geriatric physician, educationist, author, and a social worker. He is recognized as the father of geriatric medicine in India as he introduced and popularized this discipline in the country. He born in June 10, 1939. Dr. Natarajan received Bachelor of Medicine degree in 1965 and Master degree in Medicine in 1968 from University of Madras. He underwent training in geriatric medicine in the UK as early as 1974. After 4 years of specialization, he received MRCP UK degree and attained accreditation as a specialist in geriatric medicine from Joint Committee on Higher Medical Training at UK. The Royal College of Physicians, Edinburgh, awarded him fellowship in FRCP Edinburgh in 1987. Dr. Natarajan sir has been associated with the Government General Hospital, Madras, as physician since 1974. He established an outpatient wing in geriatric medicine in the Government General Hospital in 1978 and succeeded in developing this discipline further by opening a 10-bedded ward in 1988. He was appointed as the first professor of geriatric medicine at Madras Medical College in 1986. He succeeded in establishing postgraduate MD program in geriatrics in 1996. It is due to these efforts that India and Chennai found a place in the world map of geriatrics. Dr. Natarajan sir has consistently made efforts to educate the doctors and the patients on various aspects of healthcare of the aged. He has published several books in English and Tamil for the benefit of the elderly. He had a major role in the production of the documentary film Senior Citizens in 1981 by the Film Division of Government of India. A TV film entitled Violet Years conveyed to the people his expert views. He has served for about 10 years as the chairman of Senior Citizen Bureau, Chennai, a registered NGO serving the cause of the elderly. He devised and successfully launched the Geriatric House Call program in Chennai city, in which physicians visit the elderly patients in their houses for urgent medical attention. He is at present a member of National Council for Older Persons of the Government of India. His services for the elderly are continued unabated. Dr. Natarajan sir is a recipient of various awards and honors, including Dr. B.C. Roy National Award in 1994, Gold Medal in 1997 by the British Geriatric Society on its 50th anniversary, Government of Tamil Nadu Best Social Worker Award in 2007, Lifetime Achievement Award by the Indian Academy of Geriatrics in 2009, and Lifetime Achievement Award by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment of Government of India in 2010. The Tamil Nadu Dr. M.G.R. Medical University conferred the Lifetime Achievement Award on him in 2010. He has written many books. I just want to name some of the books. After 60, Burden of Love, Update on Geriatrics, Healthy Nutrition for Healthy Aging, Maradikku Goodbye, Meendum Oru Vasandam, Mind Your Mind, Oru Alamarathin Kadai, Parkinson Syndrome, Play the Innings as You Like It, Healthy Aging, a Guide to Good Health in the Later Years. He is a overall clinician, social worker, and a great academician and a wonderful teacher. And I am much junior to him actually. No, as I told you that he was a professor, I was a house surgeon. So he is my mentor, and